Now we are on to section 3 of test A IELTS student book. So this is from 28 to 40. This is the text on few pages of this book, and answers are sought from questions 28 to 40. So kindly either you can pause it and read it by yourself or listen to me. A. Out of the ashes. The topic is out of the ashes. On the afternoon of 30th August 1989, fire broke out at U Park, a large 18th century house in Sussex. For a year, builders have been replacing the lid on the roof, and by a stroke of irony, were due to finish the next day, on August 31st. Within 15 minutes of the alarm being sounded, the fire brigade had arrived on the scene, though nothing was to survive of the priceless collection on the first floor apart from an oil painting of a dog, which the firemen swept up as they finally retreated from the blaze. But due to the courage and swift action of the previous owners, the Mead Featherstone Haw family and the staff, stewards and visitors to the house, who formed human chains to pass the precious piece of porcelain furniture and painting out onto the lawn. 95% of the content from the ground floor and the basement were saved. As the fire continued to rage, the National Trust conservators were being mobilized, and that evening local stationers were specially opened to provide the bulk supplies of blotting paper so desperately needed in the salvage operation. The following morning, a park stood open to the sky. A sludge of wet charcoal covered the ground floor and basement, and in every room charred and fallen timbers lay amongst the smoke. It was a scene of utter devastation. Then after B, we'll see that C stuff. So C, after the initial sense of shock, the days which followed the fire were filled with discoveries held by volunteers and National Trust archaeologists and conservators swung into action. First of all, marking the site out into grid and then salvaging everything down to the last door handle. The position of each fragment was recorded, and all the debris was stored in countless dustbins before being shifted and categorized. Then D is there was great excitement as remnants of the lantern from the staircase hall were pulled out from the debris of two fallen floors, and also 3 weeks later, when the red room carpet, thought to have been totally lost, was found wrapped around the remains of the piano. There was a lucky reprieve for the State Bed 2 staff, who had left the scene at 3 a.m. on the night of the fire, had thought its loss was inevitable, but when they returned the next morning, it had escaped largely undamaged. Firemen, directed by the National Trust conservators from the outside of the tapestry room window, dismantled the silk hung bed and passed it out piece by piece. 20 minutes later, the ceiling fell in. And E, the scale of the task to repair a park was unprecedented in the National Trust. The immediate question was neither whether it should be done at all. A decision had to be taken quickly, as the building was unsound and whatever had not been damaged by the fire was exposed to the elements. Within a month, after consulting many experts and with the agreement of the National Trust Executive Committee, the restoration program began. It was undertaken for three main reasons. After the fire, it had become apparent just how much remained of the structure with its splendidly decorated interiors. To have pulled the house down, as one commentator suggested, would have been vandalism. Also, the property was covered by insurance, so the repairs would not call upon the National Trust's own funds. Lastly, much had been saved of the fine collection acquired especially for a park from 1747 by Sir Matthew Featherstone Haw and his son Harry. These objects belong nowhere else, and complete restoration of house would allow them to be seen and enjoyed again in their original setting. F. The search for craftsmen and women capable of doing the intricate restoration work was nationwide. Once the quality and skill of the individual or company had been ascertained, they had to pass an economic test, as every job was competitively tendered. This had been enormous benefit because not only have a number of highly skilled people come to the fore, wood carvers, for example, following in the footstep of grilling gibbons, but many of them, for example, plasterers, have relevant or relearned the skills of the 17th and 18th centuries, which can now be of use to other country house owners when the need arises. In June 1994, the building program was completed on time and on budget. The total cost of work to repair the house and its content came to be nearly 20 million, largely met for insurance. In addition, it made economic sense for the National Trust to invest time and money in upgrading water and heating system, installing modern environmental controls and updating fire and security equipment. Then H, the final stages of its restoration and the massive program for its reinstallation took 8 months. The family and the room stewards were visibly moved when returning to their old haunts, perhaps the best testament that the spirit of a park had not died. But the debate will no doubt continue as to whether or not it was right to repair the house after the fire. The National Trust has done its best to remain true to a park. It is for others to judge the success of the project. There is a note also given. The National Trust is a charitable organization in Britain set up over 100 years ago to preserve the national heritage. Now coming to the question answer series, question is from 28 to 33, and we have various paragraphs from A to H. There are 8 paragraphs, and which paragraph contains following information. We need to write the appropriate letters A to H in box 28 to 33. So the procedure for sorting through remains of the fire. So this was given in C. How a park looked after the fire, 29. This was given in B. Improvements made to the rebuilt park, 30. This was in G. The selection of people to carry out the repair work, 31. It was in F. Why the National Trust chose to rebuild a park, 32. This is E. Then how people reacted to rebuild a park. This is given in H. Now 34 to 37. Answer the question below. No more than 3 words. On what date in 1989 should the original repairs to the roof have been completed? This was August 31st, and just a day before things happened. Right? It is given in the paragraph. By what method were things rescued immediately after the burning house? 35. And this was done through human chain. HC. 36. After the fire, what did the conservators require large quantities of immediately? 36. It is actually blotting paper. BP. Then into what did the conservators put material recovered from the fire? 37. This is dustbin, countless dustbin. 38 to 40. Choose the correct letter A, B, C, D. Write the correct letter. We'll write it here only. The fire destroyed A, B, C, D. What it destroyed? It destroyed the roof of the house. Destroyed the roof of the house. So this is the correct answer. 39. One of the reasons for the National Trust decided to rebuild a park was that C. They wouldn't have to pay for the repairs. 40. Some of the craftsmen and women employed in the restoration of park have benefited because 40. D. They acquired skills they didn't have previously. So this is the answer. So this was section 3, General Training Test A of IELTS Student Book 9. Thank you so much. Take care.